Howdy, howdy, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Between Two Wolves. I'm here on the actual set with Crondis. Psych! We're here in Sanctum. I'm here with Crondis today, and he's going to walk us through what he's made, what he's been working on, as we ask him our questions. Crondis, how are you doing?
Hello. You're in Sanctum.
And what is Sanctum for the new players? The Zoomers who've joined since then.
If you have never played Forsworn Sanctum, it is a dungeon that exists that currently is closed. We had to close it because prior to the item rework, it had some specific mechanics to it, such as not being able to bring in your own items and scavenging stuff within the dungeon to keep yourself alive, and that allowed it to kind of exist in this one particular place in balance that doesn't really make any sense anymore. So we kind of decided to, while we've got the chance, close Sanctum off and ultimately reevaluate it as a piece of content as a whole.
So would you call it kind of the closest thing we had to just a pure CTM map in one level?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's probably a good evaluation of it. Is, it was a very segregated piece of content in terms of how it interacted with the rest of the game. So,
understandable. Well, I'm glad to hear that it's coming back into circulation, because this is a very pretty build. Would you like to lead on?
Yes, sure. Let's go.
Sweetness. So first question, go ahead.
Oh, no, go. I was just going to say, not too much has changed in terms of builds. We're still doing work on it. Not everything's done. You will see. There's some chests here and there. Just Red Bulls now. But so still a work in progress. We're not quite there yet, but we will be.
For sure. So we're going to do all the patron questions first. The first one, how did you come up with your username?
So Crondis is not something that is original that I made up. I played RuneScape for a very, very long time. And in that game, the character Crondis is a god in that kind of lore, mythology, whatever. And there came a point where Jagex, who is the makers of RuneScape, they had this big name dump for names that were no longer in circulation and that were basically on accounts that hadn't been active in years and years. And so they dumped them all out into the public, and I managed to nab this one.
Nice.
Funnily enough, it wasn't the one I was going after.
I
knew the name Blake was opening up, and that's obviously my real name, and I wanted to nab that one, but it ultimately, I couldn't get it. Someone else nabbed it before me, so this was my second choice. But in time, I think that was for the better, because I didn't really have an established username before then. It kind of just varied depending what I was doing. So when I got this username, I kind of just turned it into my online persona profile name. Even though over time, since I have not played RuneScape in quite a while at this point, its original meaning has kind of dissipated, but that's the backstory behind it.
Yeah, that's good. Do you still do the Society of Owls podcast? When was the last episode of those?
Oh man, last episode of that was probably 2018.
Oh wow. Do you want to explain in short what that is?
Yeah, so back in the day. Yeah. So back in the day, it was me, Fang, Avernic, Walter, and one of our friends named Captain Lime. It was a podcast that we did that kind of went over recent updates and lore discussions and stuff like that for RuneScape. We kind of formalized ourselves. Okay, well, we had a channel before we made the podcast official, and we were doing podcasts for quite a bit before then. But we ended up wanting to go into a more weekly format, and that's what the podcast ended up being. And then I kind of left RuneScape for a while, or not even for a while, basically permanently. And we kind of teetered back out of the formal thing and did a bit more freestyle as we felt like doing it. So It only lasted for 15 to 20 episodes, something like that.
That's cool. And is that how y'all met, Fang and Aver, Nick and Walter?
Through the channel, no, not specifically. We had known each other for quite a while before then.
That's cool.
Just on account of being in the same circles in the RuneScape community.
Very nice. What is the piece of content that you've helped with here that you dislike the most?
Here, as in specifically, as in like
Monumenta.
Sanctum, or as in like
Monumenta? These are generic patron questions.
That I dislike the most. Okay.
I know. Some of these are downers. I'm just letting you know.
I have worked on a lot of content.
Yes, you have.
That's a hard one to take off.
Here, while you think about it.
If there's one that jumps out into my head the most, right, I will probably go back into my early days to say I really, really, really dislike the Magenta Quest stealth section. That's something I actively hate that my name is on.
Ouch.
And the reason for that is, just to give a bit of history on that, is we made that quest way back in 1.12, which is before kind of Minecraft's command structures were redone entirely to give the entire game, a better format by which to create mechanisms. And so I had to make it in this more primitive style, I guess to say. And when we converted the game to 1.13, we had to redo all the commands. And part of that was kind of just haphazardly converting things to 1.13 in a way that didn't take up too much time so that we could just move on to the next thing. Because we had so many things that needed to be updated. So we didn't really give it the chance to, thrive in a 1.13 environment. It's still just built as if it were made in 1.12.
Makes sense.
So it kind of just sucks, being honest. It's not a very good or fun experience, and
so both.
I don't want to say I'll never go back to finish, or not finish, but like make it better. I don't want to say never, but it's certainly not on any sense of priority.
Makes sense. And so you dislike it both from the side of how it plays, as well as just as a commands guy, as a mechs guy.
Yeah. I mean, it hurts me that my name is on such an atrocity. but yes, I don't. So one other thing that really kind of bugs me about it is, so the original version of it that I had made, right? Like if you play it now, if you get into an area where you're being caught, right? You have this like 3, 2, 1 like countdown thing. Mm-hmm. So I did not make that. That was added in by Kaladin, because initially, if you got into a section that was, spottable, it just instantly, struck you out. And Kaladin was like, "That's kind of terrible," because the areas are not marked very well. So it kind of just was a really unfair experience. And I do agree with that. But the problem is, I had, balanced the whole thing and the routing for everything around that original mechanic. And so I had this crazy path that you had to take through far to get to the nurse's office that I don't think anyone has ever done, because the 3, 2, 1 countdown thing doesn't require that. It gives you way more freedom to kind of smooth past a guard. And so that's kind of upsetting, as I spent like 2 weeks doing that, and yeah, it ultimately didn't pan out like I wanted it to.
I didn't realize you did the build for the quarantine far as well.
I mean, it's just far, and I plop down some, golems and put some terrible tents up. So, I mean, if you want to call that building, yeah.
Okay, so you say golems. That's question 3 ticked off. Good to know. We've got someone without taste in here. Which piece
Wait, what?
As opposed to golems.
Oh.
And there's question 3 answered. So, which piece of Monumenta content is your favorite, and which is your least favorite? Not that has your name attached to it.
My favorite,
And if there's a distinction between them, like as a dev and as a player, if they're not the same.
I think it's probably the same. I think my favorite is probably teal. I think that dungeon is really unique in the way that it plays, and the way that it kind of is introduced and shown to you. And I really love the idea of going through this same area, 3 different times, but you're seeing it evolve in this particular way. And it all culminates in that, final moment where I won't spoil what happens in teal, but, it culminates in that part where, you ultimately see what happens in the chase section, and I think it climaxes really well, and I really like that.
I agree.
Even though its development cycle was kind of crazy for all of us.
You want to go into that?
That would take forever.
Yeah.
Teal is a very long and crazy dev cycle. But yeah, I would say Teal is probably my favorite singular piece of content. My least favorite, it's probably either the arena or roguelike. I'm sorry, ephemeral corridors. Can't say that term anymore.
There you go.
I don't think roguelike plays very well. I was around back in ye olden days when roguelike launched, and I didn't think it particularly was for me. I understand the appeal that some people have for it, but I don't know. There's something about it, and it's not even the gimmick of losing your items when you die or anything. That I don't particularly care about that as someone who has been around the CTM scene for forever. I don't mind losing items, although I don't mind the idea of losing items as a concept, even though it certainly hurts when it happens, right?
Sure.
But
that's kind of the point.
Yeah, but so that's not the gimmick that really gets me. I don't know. There's something just about the way it plays that I don't think works. And especially when, all the rooms were kind of made individually and not all by people who were on the team. And, back in the day, there wasn't as much coordination to get them all to be unified and feel. So, yeah, I'd say probably roguelike.
Okay.
The arena, probably a close second. I don't know. I don't find it to be all that fun. I know that's probably a hot take that some people will have, but yeah, I don't find it to be all that fun. I'm sorry.
No, that's fair. I just asked about favorites. It's not an insult to the people who enjoy it. So if you were totally non-democratically elected dictator of Monumenta, what would you change about this server with no repercussions and no input from anyone else?
Oh boy. If I were to be dictator Crondis for a second.
About those content specifically. That's what the patron wants to know. Your least and most favorite.
Oh, what would I change about those pieces of content?
That is what they want to know, yeah.
Okay. I would not change teal.
Okay.
I think teal is pretty much perfect in the way that it is presented. You can argue about the gameplay or, like mobs and balance and stuff all you want, but I'm not a numbers person like that. So I wouldn't change teal. If I were to change roguelike, I would make, I feel like the doors are always really hard to find. I've never, because they're all like specifically on this one specified level, regardless of
15.
what room you're in. It tends to make the pathing feel strange. So, yeah, I would try to find a way to make the doors better or, more dynamic. Similar in a vein to, like, shifting. I think shifting does randomization in a really good way. And Delves obviously followed off of that.
Depths?
I'm sorry, yeah, Depths followed off of that.
We've all made that mistake, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. But in the sense of allowing, dynamic entrance and exiting of different rooms. So I think that would ultimately help roguelike the most, but...
Well, cool. Good answers. All right, we got a bit of a loaded one. Who is your favorite other team member?
My favorite other team member? Oh, God.
Which one of you asked this? Yes, Crondis, tell us. In all seriousness, you can pass on personal questions. That's been a rule since the beginning. If it's like doxing or truly sensitive.
I'm gonna cop out and say Busty.
That is a very good answer. And if Square gets one, and that's not her answer, then we've got issues. But yes. Cool. It's not much a cop-out. It's like the Sunday school answer of Monumenta. It's Jesus!
Yeah, it's the easy answer.
Yeah, yeah.
Did we want to talk about the arena here
yes,
real quick
please
while we're
do.
here?
What's changed?
Yeah, so we've kind of redesigned the whole arena. I guess this is a bit of a spoiler for what's to happen, but we are cutting out, for those of you who have played Sanctum before, we're cutting out the whole falling island situation. It was cool, certainly, but it always caused a bit of strain on the server and caused a lot of lag. And so while it was a neat interaction, while it lasted, I don't think it's feasible to keep around long term anymore. And so ultimately the fight against Shura is going to be up here the entire time. And so we wanted to make the arena a bit more arena-y, because before it certainly would have been a bit more awkward to have the whole fight in this like weird bookshelf area that was definitely not made to be an arena. So we have arena-fied the island a bit better.
Well done. Can you tell us when this is going to be playable by the players, roughly?
I'm hoping a couple weeks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to make promises, but that's my aim. Because I don't want to stick around, working on this for too much longer. I've got other things that I want to get to, specifically in R3. So. Ooh, mystical R3.
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on the newest experimental snapshot, the Deep Dark?
Is this the Minecraft snapshot?
Yes.
Yes.
I guess that's our answer.
I haven't looked at it, so no, okay. I have no thoughts on it.
I think the Warden is the big thing. Any?
Yeah, I mean, the Warden's been showed off before, so I can say something. I mean, I think it's fine, right? Like, I'm not sure how game-changing it will be for Monumenta, which is ultimately what I care about the most in terms of Minecraft updates these days, because I don't really play base Minecraft hardly ever anymore. So,
want to go walk around some more buildings on the bottom?
Yeah, we can go down.
This is cool. Thank you for showing me. All right, we got three kind of introspective questions that I'm going to combine and give you all at once, and then you answer them from it however you want. Ready?
Okay.
What is something you regret regarding Monumenta? It could be something that you'd change now if you could start over, or you haven't done it yet and you really want to. Was there ever a time that you felt like you wanted to give up on a project entirely, even to the point that you would scrap it completely despite putting a whole lot of hours into it? And when you first started developing, were you overwhelmed? Did you feel a pressure to be perfect?
Am I answering all these at once, or am I just?
I can break them up, but they're kind of all in similar spirits. Of tell us your gripes. Tell us your bare your soul.
The first question was, what's the one that I am disappointed in the most? Was that wording?
I should have broken them up more. What's your biggest regret about Monumenta? Either something that you did that you would take back, or something that you haven't gotten to do yet that you wish you could.
Okay, so this is the obligatory part of the part where I'm, obligated to talk about Rush, right?
Only if you want to. It's your interview.
So I don't regret Rush. I really don't. I like how Rush plays.
Same.
Even though ultimately I know a lot of other people don't, especially solo mode. I've been hearing a lot of good things about duo mode, so that does give me a little bit of joy. So I'll give a bit of backstory on it, just because I think it's a funny story. Is I made Rush out of... I had gone on this crazy binge of the Devil May Cry series.
I was going to ask you to tell this story if you didn't volunteer. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so a backstory to the backstory. I was mad. I won't say mad. I was a little bit disappointed in the reveal of Byleth for Smash, because at the time the DMC devs were kind of hinting that there was going to be an announcement on the same, that just so happened to be on the same day as a character reveal, right? And so there was a lot of speculation around the community at the time that, this is going to be Dante for Smash, and he was one of my most wanted characters, and it ended up being Byleth.
Who was the how many Fire Emblem characters were in now?
The 8th Fire Emblem character, I believe, which is pretty crazy. So me being a little bit salty, I wasn't mad. I just wasn't what I wanted. But some people enjoy it, so whatever. In retaliation, Devil May Cry 1 and 2 had just released on the Switch, and 3 was coming like a couple weeks later. So you know what? I'm gonna play all the Devil May Cry series again. And so I did. I played 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch, and then I went on to 4 and 5 on PC. And in Devil May Cry, there is this mode that is called Bloody Palace, and it's effectively this, game mode where you're playing waves and waves of enemies that kind of come after you, and it's more or less an endless mode. I mean, if you're terrible, it's definitely endless. And so I got inspired to make Rush based off of this Devil May Cry mode. And so I went into it, I was really excited because I thought, I can make this really well. I can do this in a way that fits the game. And what I ultimately made was not quite Bloody Palace. It's like halfway there. It's some mix between Bloody Palace and like Call of Duty Zombies, I think is kind of how I would describe it. And with that being said, the thing I regret about it is not how it ultimately came out, but the process that I took to get there. It was kind of just me designing everything, and in terms of like gameplay and mechs and everything like that, I had Mon making all the mobs and everything, and that was, I appreciate that. But in terms of just how everything works and how it would play, it was just me. And I think a big learning experience to take out of that was to get some more opinions. Because I'm not someone who tends to be a gameplay designer. And so I wish I had gotten the opinions more of people like Shadow and like, Rubix at the time, and stick, and people who more often do, that type of design work. And I think the learning experience out of that for me was just don't try to do everything yourself. Get opinions from other people. And I think had I done that, what would have come out of Rush would have ultimately, I don't know if it would have been, quote unquote better, because that's a matter of opinion. But I do think it would have been less disliked.
Received better.
Yes.
Sure.
Or maybe appealed to at least a little bit wider of an audience.
Yeah, I get you. So what is the cutoff for when something becomes content and when it's just content? That you did almost exclusively yourself. Rush is undeniably content. Where's the cutoff?
I don't really. I mean, is there a cutoff for content? I mean, it's kind of just a universal term at this point. The whole game is basically content, if you think about it.
Maybe content was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly. The content is what you find at the One Piece.
We might get to that later. Was there ever a time you felt like scrapping something entirely, even if you've put a whole lot of time into it?
Oh, man.
Have you? I guess that's an even better question.
Oh, have I? Yes. I am a really terrible builder. I wish I wasn't, but I'm really, really bad at it. I'm just not an artsy kind of person. I never have been, and I think you need some sort of artistic flair to be able to build.
Yeah.
At least to the extent that, some of our builders can do, Wondersim and Cat and Shadow and people like that, right? I don't have that artistic flair, and so I have, on several occasions, tried to build these crazy things, and they just don't work out. And so I scrap them.
That's fair. What's the most time you've ever put into something? Oh, hey. What's the most time you've ever put into something that you scrapped? Roughly.
I think I'm pretty good about budgeting, when I'm not going to be able to do something, or when what I'm making is coming out to be not good. So, I mean, no more than maybe a day's worth of work.
Oh, well, that's not too bad.
It's not too terrible. Like I said, I know my limits, and I know pretty early on when something's not going to work out.
Well, that's good. Was there ever a time when you felt like you had to be perfect on the team or have been overwhelmed by the workload? Or does that kind of go into the whole budgeting thing?
I mean, no, I definitely have felt overloaded, certainly. I think, going back to Teal Dev, and somehow we circled back to that, there was a lot of pressure to get Teal out by a certain time, and we didn't ultimately get to that point. And I was making all the mechs, and I was making the quests that were leading up to it, and there was a lot of pressure on me to get things done for Teal to get out the door, and that pressure was really tight to the point that I failed on that point, and I ended up having to get other people to do some quests. The Viz guys, they did ours for Reprisal, and Fang ended up doing Unmasked. Both of those were supposed to be quests that I was supposed to do, and I couldn't get to it. I only was able to manage Bleeding Proof and Kingdom of Lies, along with all the Max and Teal. And earlier on, I should have said, guys, I need help with this, and I didn't do that. And ultimately, Teal was delayed by a few months because earlier on, I had felt so much pressure that this was going to be on me that I couldn't, I don't know, foresee ahead that, it was certainly too much of a burden for one person.
Sure. Actually, I think we've both done the audience a bit of a disservice by assuming that they're as in the know as the most knowledgeable players. Why don't you tell us what you do? Like how comprehensive your job is.
What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, or maybe it's shorter to say what you don't do.
What do I not do?
Yeah.
I don't do
tell us about your job. I should have asked Kat and Chip this specifically as well.
I don't do plugins.
Okay.
And I don't build. Everything else you will probably find my name on somewhere.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I am the head mechanism maker, I guess, is the way I'd say that. I have made quests, many, more than I care to count.
Do you have a favorite that you've made?
Ooh, favorite quest?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say one singular quest, but I think obviously my favorite is, my baby, the Primeval Creation series. Certainly, that's always going to hold a special place in my heart. And that was a project that, took a crazy amount of time, over a year and a half to do from first to last quest. All types of, mix and mingles on the way. It was a fun time, even though I always felt the pressure of like, man, what's the best puzzle I could make for this? And when it would finally dawn on me, like, oh, that's the great one. That's what I want to use. That would be the inspiration to finally jumpstart a quest. Is like, oh, I figured out the cyan puzzle. I know what I'm going to do for cyan. All right, time to start. And then I would every time it would always be like I'd get the inspiration for one, and then the second one would come along. And I'm like, I have no idea what to do for the second one. I should have thought about this sooner before starting.
Do you pull inspiration from anywhere in particular?
For the puzzle?
For really anything. I mean, I think RuneScape is something of an inspiration for you, but
yeah, certainly in terms of storytelling, I would say RuneScape is definitely that. Puzzles, I get inspiration from some from RuneScape, some from other games that I've played, some from like really just crazy math garbage. Like, the cyan puzzle is called A Knight's Tour, which I randomly saw a video about, and I was like, I could convert the idea of this into a puzzle.
That's awesome.
And that's what I did. So it's really just wherever inspiration hits me. It's nowhere one specific, area.
Sure. How often do you see something in another video game, like the Bloody Palace thing, and want to not replicate it, but use it in your Monument to developing?
I would say I'm actively always looking out for stuff like that.
Cool.
It's things that I can see, or things that, I see as fundamentally good content that is fun, that would translate to Monument in a way that both makes sense, but would also give a similar experience to what it originally would have.
How do you mean?
Because I think, just as in, would it be fun in Monumental, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Minecraft is obviously a very, very specific in the way that you can present things. And so I don't think everything works.
Oh, absolutely.
I think some things work. But I think there are some things that objectively you just can't make work in a way that will be fun in a Minecraft environment.
And conversely, that you can, because of things like terrain deformation.
Yeah, sure, exactly. So I'm always on the prowl for things like that. In fact, I won't say what it is, but the next installment of content is heavily based on something that I experienced from another game.
Can you tell us what year the game was released in? Is it like a recent thing, or?
The game was released in 1999, but that
Oh.
doesn't tell you anything.
No, but it does tell us it's kind of retro, and okay, cool.
No, it's really not, because when it released makes zero
Okay.
reference.
Nice. How bad is your caffeine addiction?
How bad is my caffeine addiction? It used to be really bad. I used to be a Diet Coke addict back in the day. And I quit cold turkey about 7 years ago. What year is it? 2022? Yeah. Okay,
What? Yeah.
So
I know that.
7 years ago. It was 2015. So that's when I kicked my caffeine addiction cold turkey, and I don't drink caffeine anymore.
Attaboy. Well, that's fantastic. Not
I've
coffee,
never been
not
into
tea?
No, I've never been into coffee. I don't like tea. So.
Was it just water for you? What do you drink?
Water. That's what
All
I drink.
It's healthy.
I'm a bit of a health nut. So yeah.
Good. Those of us who've seen your pictures would believe that. Dude's jacked. He won't say it. He's too modest. I will say that. Tell me, that's the end of the patron questions. And now on to some generic ones. Why is Monumenta special to you?
I don't know. If I'm being honest, I don't know. There's something about it that has just always drawn to me. Like I mentioned earlier, I've been around the CTM scene for a very long time. My very first CTM was Uncharted Territories 2 by Ember.
Mm-hmm. I played it too.
It's a very good map.
Very.
UT3 probably is my favorite of the classic era CTMs, I would say.
Where is the cutoff for classic?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like 2013, 2012?
When did Monstrosity release?
I don't remember.
I would say Monstrosity is probably the end of the quote-unquote classic era, in my mind. It's impossible to say when that was, though, offhand. I don't remember. What were we getting at? How did we start on that?
Why is Monumenta special to you? You brought up CTMs.
Right. How is Monumenta special?
And you're not quite sure, but we were unpacking that.
Right. So I ended up starting playing Monumenta because Fang and Avernic and Walter. Well, Fang and Walter were already on the team at the time, and they had gotten Avernic to play. And Avernic ended up dragging me on to play. And I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it. I don't really know what it is about it that attracted it to me, but I did. And I've spent 4 years of my life with this game at this point. So,
do you still love it?
I do, yeah.
Good.
In different ways, I'll say. It's different to like something as a player and to like something as a creator.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure how to verbally express what it is that's different about it. I suppose it's the loving it from a outside perspective of being able to enjoy something that's new to you, a fresh experience, right? Like you playing Elden Ring right now, right? Like you love it because it's just this crazy experience that you're just able to involve yourself in. But when you're looking at it as a creator, you love it because it's your creative outlet. Like, it's how you express yourself in a way that other people can see, even though it's not verbal expression, right? And I think that's why I love it so much, is because Monumenta gives you a chance to express yourself in ways that you just can't otherwise in Minecraft. I mean, Minecraft is very limiting, and especially for someone like me who, I'm not a Java plugin kind of developer. I don't code, so my creativity is limited to what base Minecraft gives me, and Monumenta is an environment that extends that out more than would be possible. And yeah, it's a way that you can express yourself differently. And I think that's why I love it, is that I can not only make cool things, but I can see other people enjoying those things.
Well said. What class do you play? When you play?
It's kind of a running joke that I don't play very much anymore. But when I do, it's mage.
Nice. What are your hobbies outside the game?
My hobbies outside the game. So, I am a competitive Smash player, and I'm a gamer, and I'm a gym rat. And that's what takes up my times when I'm not, at my full-time job.
Do you want to tell us what your job is?
Yeah, I'm an engineer.
Represent. What about Hannah? Or is Hannah or Hannah? I've only seen it written.
Hannah.
Hannah. Tell us about Hannah.
She is currently laying down, staring at me, wondering why I'm not giving her attention. Hannah is my little under 2-year-old husky.
I might request a picture to overlay on the video right at this spot so they can see her.
Yeah, I can send you a picture.
Thank you.
Yeah, she's a handful, but you can't help but love her. She's just a goofball.
Good. Huskies tend to be, it seems.
Yeah, they're very, very vocal.
So you mentioned you're a gamer. What is your favorite video game and why?
Oh, my favorite. Okay.
I figured your skin might be a bit of a hint to this when I've asked you personally.
Yeah. So my it's no secret. My favorite game is Breath of the Wild. I love that game to death.
Tell us about it.
I 100%ed it twice because I'm, a madman, and I apparently enjoy collecting 1,800 Korok seeds. It's just what I want to do with my time.
Twice. Wait, is it 900 or 3,600 total? 900. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Breath of the Wild. It's legitimately my favorite game ever. I'm very much looking forward to the sequel.
Awesome. Who's your Smash main?
I'm an S main.
I can't believe we're having this interview. I'm out.
Yeah, I've played Smash since Smash 64. I'm just that old. Yeah, I played from the very first game, and I thought Ness back then, if you're just looking at the original 12 characters of Smash, right? Ness is definitely the most unique, I would say, of the original 12.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And so that kind of enthralled me back then to play. And I've never been able to kick the habit, man. It's only gotten better as the games have gotten better. And, Smash has had its hiccups here and there. I think Smash 4 was kind of
I was going to say it if you didn't.
Yeah. Smash 4 is certainly a game that existed at one point.
Which is your favorite Smash? Or I guess you've just answered by saying it's gotten better.
Ultimate's my favorite Smash. Yeah, I don't have a problem saying that.
You're not a Melee elitist?
I am not. I competed in Melee back at one point in my life, but and I do love Melee, right? I'm not someone who's going to sit here and bash it and say it's a terrible and old game and whatever. But it does have too many flaws with it for me to objectively look at it and continue to say that it's, a good game at its core. I think it's very broken, and I think people love it because it's broken, and that's perfectly fine. But as I've gotten older and more cynical, I've kind of not been able to deal with the brokenness. And so when I look at Ultimate and how refined and polished that game is, it has its flaws, right? I think delay input is, objectively bad, but it's got the least amount of flaws and the most polish and certainly the most love put into it. And I think it really shows in everything about it. And so, yeah, that's why it is my favorite Smash game.
Awesome.
And also Sephiroth.
What? Just that he is even in it?
Just that he is there, yeah.
It is pretty game-breaking. I mean, the fact that... Was Minecraft Steve, really? That wasn't the most shocking one to you?
Oh, I mean, that was certainly the most shocking. I mean, I remember feeling like I was, having a fever dream.
Exactly.
That whole day.
Perfect phrasing, yeah. It broke Twitter.
Yeah, seriously. But, no, Sephiroth was one of my most wanted characters, so...
Yep.
Crazy one about him, though, is that it felt so impossible that I never even really asked for it. So...
Him and Goku, I guess? Same.
No.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't ask for Goku, no.
Which is weird, because you're a Dragon Ball fan, right?
I do love Dragon Ball, but I don't want Goku in my Smash.
Okay.
I can separate my loves.
That is the sign of a mature human being. Well done. Last question. This is kind of the wild card question. Tell us something interesting that we would never have thought to ask about you in the first place. Or, if phrased a different way, what's a question you wish I'd asked you that I didn't think of?
I had an answer for this, and you asked it already. So now you're putting me on the spot.
Which question?
So I was going to say, it's something that you never would have asked me. Would have been like, I was a podcaster at one point, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we ended up talking about that. So, yeah, I mean, let's just talk a little bit about some games, right? I mean, I said, my favorite is Breath of the Wild, and Kat was not able to give an answer to that. So I'll give some runner-ups, right? Just to give you a bit more insight into games that I like.
Go for it.
So, some of my top games, this is in no particular order, just games that I really love. Devil May Cry 5, obviously up there for me. Persona 5 Royal. Xenoblade Chronicles, both 1 and 2. I don't know which one I would rank higher. That's a hard one. Final Fantasy 7. Portal.
How do you feel about the remake of 7?
I have only briefly looked at it. I have not played it myself yet. I need to do that. But I was busy in my life at the time that it came out. And I was also a bit put off by the fact that they were, kind of advertising it as part 1. And I didn't want to get into it and then just be left hanging like, oh, when's part 2 coming? And we still don't know the answer to that. So I'm not in a hurry to try it, but I will eventually at some point.
Sure. Portal, you said?
Yes, Portal. I do love it. Portal is probably my favorite puzzle game out there. I think it is incredibly creative in the way that it allows you to do things, and just a way puzzle games before then didn't. And that's why I was really excited to be able to make the companion cube for Scientists of Steel Milk.
I was about to ask, what are your thoughts on Scientists of Steel Milk?
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it. I mean, obviously, it's got its own little unique flair of Minecraft jank, right? But it's fun, and I was able to make the companion cube for it, so that made me happy.
Hooray! Any others come to mind?
Recently I've been playing Earthbound again. It came up to Nintendo Switch Online, and so I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's been like 15 years since I've played it, so yeah, I've been playing that again recently. Earthbound's probably one of my favorite, of the classic like JRPGs. I'd say it's definitely up there.
For sure. Did you know about it before you saw Ness and Smash 64?
No, I did not. I was
the average American child.
Yeah, like the average.
Who's
American
this kid?
child. That said, I did play it on the original SNES. Just
nice.
as a bit of a backstory. So my grandparents, they owned a daycare, and when you're dealing with kids all day, you want to be able to distract them in one way or another. And they would always buy for their daycare a console, the latest and greatest console at the time, and then they would replace the one that was there, and they would take it home. Well, days where I would go over to their house, these old consoles would just be sitting around. And so I got to play SNES games on the SNES hardware, even though, that console was just before my time, right? Like, I grew up in the N64 era. So
would you say the ones that you owned were consoles?
Oh, God.
I'm sorry. That's a really cool story. I love that. What were all the ones? So SNES, what were the other ones?
So the ones I remember were, it was the SNES. There was the Sega Genesis, Saturn. I don't remember. We didn't have all that many games on. There was a Sonic game, and then there was like a Lion King game. I can't remember if it was the Genesis or the Saturn. Yeah, I can't remember which console it was. And then she had a PS1 that they also brought home at one point. And then eventually, I think I'm trying to think if they replaced the N64 with something, or if they just took it home, but eventually it just became mine. Like, it didn't even go to their house. They just gave it to me, and it was my N64 now. So,
well, I think we're out of time this evening. Thank you so much for joining me, Crondis. We'll see y'all next week. Crondis, say goodbye.